So if you buy in the right market, you can do a lot of things wrong and still make a lot of money. But how do you define what a good market is? Well, we literally look for three things. We look for population growth, job growth, and income growth. So it comes down to one word, right? Growth. If we're seeing growth in a market, people moving there, income's growing, jobs going, we know that that's going to be a great market. So one market that we absolutely love, and we have 1,500 units there, multifamily units, is Jacksonville, Florida. And what we love about Jacksonville, Florida is it has a phenomenal amount of growth. It's got all the things we love. It's honestly my favorite market in the country. So that's why we're doing a lot of work there. So I'm gonna get into why I love Jacksonville, what's happening right now in the market, some stories of things that we've done. I think you're gonna love it. So stick around, we got a great quote for you at the end as well. All right, so it's been said that a rising tide lifts all ships. So what that means is, again, when it comes to multifamily investing, you can do a lot of things wrong, and if you just simply invest in the right markets or doing the right in the right location, you can do really well. So we like buying in areas where we see those three things: population growth, job growth, and income growth. Now in Florida is a booming place. People call it the land of the free. There's so many positives that are happening there. There's no state income tax. There's warm weather. There's a lot of reasons why people are moving there. And you can see the average price of a single family house in Jacksonville, Florida is $311,000 at the time of recording this video. Now there are some that are much nicer and there are some that are not as nice, but you can get a pretty decent house for $311,000. I would say it's about 4 times cheaper, literally 4 times cheaper than where I live in the Los Angeles area. I live in a pretty good area, but what you get for $1.2 million would cost you about $300,000 in Jacksonville. So it is really attractive. People love living there, but let's just break down the 3 growth things that I mentioned and what's happening in Jacksonville. So the first thing, we talked about population growth. And if you look at the last 3 years, basically the population in Jacksonville has grown 1.3 to 1.5% each year for the last 3 years. That means 1,500 people are moving there every single month, and there's not enough housing. So we're about 95 to 97% occupied with all the available housing units. So that means people are having to share a place, or there's nowhere to live. So that is a very positive thing because it means more people are moving. Job growth. Job growth is the next one. What's happening as far as jobs? Well, you can see from this headline that we see a 1.6% job growth rate over a 2-year period, which is very similar to what we're seeing in Phoenix, Arizona, which is a red hot market, as well as Raleigh. So these are bigger markets, but we're seeing just some phenomenal growth there as well. The last thing really that we look for is income growth. Now you can see that Florida is booming as a whole. Well, in Florida, Jacksonville is number 2 as far as median income growth. So there's a lot of industry there, diversified with healthcare, manufacturing, all types of different things happening in Jacksonville, Florida. But really the question comes is, why are people moving to Jacksonville? Like what is the draw about Jacksonville? What do people like? Well, we get a lot of people that are from the north, right? If you're from Chicago or you're from New York and the winters have been long, or maybe you've been a teacher or you've worked your job and you're ready to move somewhere warmer, you can live in Florida and you can buy a great house for a reasonable price, much cheaper than you get in Orlando or cheaper than you get in Tampa, or you get way more for your money. So these people are moving from other places, and for every person that moves there, whether they're a retiree or they're maybe a millennial that can work remotely because of COVID, there's people that need to go support them. These people that are moving there, they need people cleaning the house, they need restaurant service, they need retail, they need people to fix the car, they need healthcare, they need all these different things. And so there's all these other people that have to show up to be able to take care of the people that are moving. So migration is a huge factor when it comes to seeing growth in rents and growth in population. So, really the other thing I mentioned is there's no state income tax, right? So you can be saving thousands or tens of thousands of dollars if you're a retiree or if you're working just by living in Florida. This is kind of famous when LeBron James, right, he left Cleveland and he moved to Florida, and they figured he was going to make something like, I didn't get the figure wrong, but something like $5 million a year more just because he was not paying state income tax. And that's what we're seeing too. A guy like Joe Rogan, moves from California to Texas because he was going to save so much money on state income tax. So that's why people are moving there, right? So the story is important. Now, our strategy when it comes to working in Jacksonville, I wanted to share this with you because we've had some real home runs here. And generally we go for base hits and doubles, but when it comes to multifamily investing, we've had some amazing wins. So we bought this particular property here in March of 2021 for $27 million, and we plan to hold it for 6 years. But we ended up selling it 10 months later for $37 million. So bought it for 27, sold it for 37. And we basically had a huge return for our investors. It was close to a 90% or higher IRR, and it was obviously a real home run. Now, why did that happen? It happened because we're geniuses. No, we're not geniuses. But again, we're buying in the right markets. And when we're seeing that, there's just no more housing. Rents have to go up. And we'll give some examples of that in a minute. But we use the value-add approach. This is different than going and buying a brand new apartment or buying a place that's fully renovated or it's completely new. We like to go into places that are a little bit older, that are built in the 70s or somewhere in that era, and we do renovations. So kind of this example here that we bought this one in October of 21, and basically the average rent was $13.20 when we bought this, just the average rent in Jacksonville. And then in May of 2022, the average rent was $14.60. So again, we've gone up from $13.20 to $14.60, $140 a month just from what's happening in the market, just because the tide is rising, the demand is rising. And then in August of 2022, the average rents were $15.66. So that's a 19% increase in rent just in the market over 10 months. So again, there's two types of appreciation, right? We've got market appreciation, which is again the rising tide raising the ships, and then there's forced appreciation. So I'm gonna give an example of how we also force appreciation. We're seeing opportunities, great buying opportunities in Jacksonville for this reason. So you can see this particular property. This is another one we've been working on, and the average rents were around $1,000. So we've been able to buy this property, average rent's $1,000, put about $6,000 in per unit, do some upgrades, do floors, kitchen, just some basic stuff, paint, stuff around the place, nothing really dramatic, maybe a few appliances. And then we're able to go to that average rent of $15.66. And we're seeing that in the market. That's almost a 57% upside in the market. Now, I look at a lot of deals all over the country. I don't know any market of the country that has a 57% upside when you're putting a modest value add renovation into it. And we're seeing these in Jacksonville. We're having access to these type of deals, which we absolutely love. So those are a few reasons I love Jacksonville. The other reason is a difference between a place like Phoenix and Jacksonville. And all my Phoenix friends that love Phoenix, please don't hate me. But Phoenix, for this same property, we're paying about $155,000 to $165,000 per unit. Well, in Phoenix, Arizona, you'd be paying about $300,000 for that same unit built in the 70s, kind of same value add type of project. And so you're paying way more for the actual unit. So the reason that's important is $300,000, even in Phoenix, that's at or maybe even above replacement cost. I mean, you could build a brand new apartment, a Class A brand new apartment, typically for less than $300,000, right? So you're actually kind of upside down on that a little bit. Now in Jacksonville, we're seeing these particular apartments, it still would cost about $190,000 to $200,000 or more to be able to build, rather than the $165,000 to $165,000 we're paying. Now, construction costs are going crazy. It's really hard to know what anything costs right now. Everything is costing more. So we felt like if we can buy older stuff, we can renovate it, we're getting a great deal on it. We know it's going to be great over time. We're buying it below or at or below replacement costs. We're seeing the value add upside. So as you can see why I love Jacksonville. First of all, we have the growth that I talked about. We have opportunities for these value add, these older deals, and we're just seeing incredible demand as far as, especially with the population that's moving there. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to share this quote with you that I think is really pertinent to today. So it says, identify and follow trends in your industry. Don't fight against the current of change. Instead, recognize these as an opportunity and seize the advantage. That's from Becky Sheets-Runkle. Now, there's a saying that says, make the trend your friend, right? Ride the waves. Don't try to create your own, ride the wave. So this is a wave that we try to ride. We try to see what are the best markets, and we try to really focus on those. So it's Jacksonville now. It probably won't be Jacksonville in 5 years, but it is now. We absolutely love it for those reasons. Now, if you're not on our investor deal list, you're not hearing about any of our deals. You're not hearing about these Jacksonville deals. You're not hearing about some of our other stuff. You need to get on our list. So that's below in the comments, bronsonequity.com. We'll set up a call, set up a relationship with you. We like long-term partnerships with investors. We also do this really unique investment beyond multifamily, and it's an ATM machine fund. So it's partnered with the 5th largest operator of ATMs in the country. I did a little educational video just kind of about what it's like and why people like it. You can check that out up here. But thanks for taking the time to educate yourself, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.